Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another live session at Kitabkhana Books. So today we will be in conversation with Dr. Satpendu Biswas, and we'll be talking about his book, which is called Gurgaon to Gurugram. So that's the book that we are going to be talking about. So let me introduce myself as well. My name is Rahul Saini. I'm an author. I write fiction, and I hold a degree in architecture, and I have an MA in English as well. And my new book also just came out in the market. A quick brief about the book. So this book, Gurgaon to Gurugram, is essentially the story of the city, which is Gurgaon. Those of you who have been to the city, I'm sure this book will definitely intrigue you, interest you a lot. And those of you who have not visited the city should take it as a understanding that how a city uh, which is completely started from scratch, how things happen, and what are the factors and what different forces come together to shape the city that it finally becomes, because the new Gurgaon, as we know, is something which was completely blank slate back then, and then it was developed slowly over time, which is explained very beautifully. Okay, in the meantime, I'll just introduce the author already. So, Mr. Satpendu P. Biswas, he is an architect, an urban designer, and an author. He's written 3 books, and this is his 3rd book. Okay, so we have the author with us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay. So I have quickly just briefed everyone who's joined us about the book. I've introduced you already. Now the fun fact. So Dr. Biswas and I have a very interesting connection, because Dr. Biswas was my faculty when I was in college, and I have so my housing project and my urban design project was done under his guidance. Now, if there are any architecture students out there, and if any of my students are out there, so you always have that one faculty, there's always like a special group of faculty in college now, which the whole student crowd looks at them, and they go like, पता नहीं कितना कुछ आता है इनको, और पता नहीं कहाँ से सीख के आए हैं, एंड पता नहीं हम तो कभी बात ही नहीं कर पाएंगे इनसे, एंड हमें तो ये खा जाएंगे ज्यूरी में. So Biswas was like that for us, and I really can't express how overwhelming it is for me to actually sit here and talk with him about his book. So getting on with the discussion, sir, it's a wonderful book, and what I like about this book is that it gives you all the information that we need, and it is very useful for the architecture students and the planning students, and it's very satisfying for just a curious reader as well, who just is living in the city probably, or has visited the city, and he wants to know what it has become and how it started and all of that. And it never becomes like a heavy academic read as most of the other books tends to do. This is the kind of book that, if you're traveling from Mumbai to Delhi, you just pick it up from the airport, and you can finish it just during the whole journey, and when you land finally, you will know so much about the city that it's not even funny. Getting on to the book, what I find most interesting is the way you've structured it. So I believe that's one of my personal observations, actually, from whatever I've understood and read and figured out, that human history and the whole power play and politics and everything, it always starts with agriculture, land, and farming. And I was very intrigued to see that was exactly the point that where you started this book from as well. So we start with how agriculture ended up shaping the city, or leaving the city in the condition that it was back then, before Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal separated into 3 different states. Then the land laws played a very important role in shaping the whole thing up. Then the setting up of the Maruti car factory was one factor. Then the infusion of Genpact was another major factor. That was the point, by the way, when I had just come to Gurgaon, and the whole thing had just started becoming so dynamic, and the whole thing was happening. Then slowly the IT industry penetrated into the scene, and then everything happened. So, how did you come up with this structure, this narrative, this sequence? Like, what did it just happen on its own? Like, what was the journey like to discover this?
You have very rightly put it all together in a sense that how, in general, the city is transformed and how the city is taking in shape. Most of the cities, what we have seen, the cities existed before us actually, and this is a city which happened in front of us, most of us, in fact. So that is why we could trace its beginning and how the whole process of urbanization happened in Gurgaon. So all that thing happened in front of us, as you have discussed in the beginning, that settlement starts with agriculture, because before that there was the nomads, the people were moving around from one place to the other place. The agriculture, when they started cultivation, then they started getting attached to a piece of land. The moment they get attached to a piece of land, then they start settling in, and settlement starts. That when the settlement started, then the slowly it became bigger and bigger, and that's how the city came into being. So the transformation happens from the land itself. So land is the beginning of it, and in Gurgaon, like many other places, it's a very dynamic way. The land was really transformed into real estate, and the city came into being. One interesting part of Gurgaon was that at one point of time, this transformation of land, the transition, which I have put together this whole history of how Gurgaon transformed from one to the other. Then, and we identify Gurgaon with those people. They came from outside, started settling in because of their job opportunity and all, because of their ambition of work and way of living, style of living, etc. etc. They came into Gurgaon and started doing it. And it eventually created different kind of disparate social groups, which create kind of contradictions within the city. And it creates some kind of image, uh, which based on the imagination of some place, which is not necessarily rooted in its culture or its place specific architecture or anything of that sort. So something from outside. So this all together, it gave the shape of Gurgaon to some extent. That's what I tried to jot down in this book. And as you said, that is a deliberate attempt also to write in a language or in a kind of a narrative which is easy to understand for anybody and everybody to pick up this book and read it and get information, as well as there are many anecdotes which I have tried to use and then try to explain that anecdotes in a larger phenomenon of how the city came into being. So that is how I worked on this book.
So there are quite a few interesting anecdotes, and the first one that really grabs your attention in the is the one where you are standing in the queue at a bank, and then that whole sequence. Let's not reveal it. Let the readers discover that when they read it. But when you pick up this book, that's one interesting anecdote that I'm sure everyone reading it will enjoy. Also, the book is available at Kitab Khana, so you can order the book from there. Just like the new guidelines for the lockdown might slightly delay the delivery, but we are definitely taking orders. So please put your orders, and we can definitely send you the book. And the cover of the book is something that looks like this. Now, when I saw the cover, the first thing that came to my mind was that popular TV show, Stranger Things. There's the world that they live in, and then there's this world called Upside Down, and where everything is dark, everything is negative, and things are just not right. And then there's this film called Upside Down, starring Kristen Dunst. So that's another thing that came to my mind. And I just happened to see Kong versus Godzilla. And when they go to the center of the earth, the landscape is just like this. You have land below yourself, and you have land above yourself as well. So I found this whole idea very intriguing. And so was it intentional? What was your idea that you were pushing when the cover design was happening?
Actually, the cover has been designed by Drupa team, the publishers, and they did a fantastic work. Actually, I must congratulate them. And my role was to select one of the few alternatives, and this is the one I thought is very charged kind of a thing, and very attractive also. It talks about two different kind of world, and then so I thought that it has a lot of dynamism in the cover, and it will be attractive also for people to pick up. So that is my input. The credit goes to the Rupa design team, and they did a fantastic job.
Okay. Sunita there is saying that please show us the book being discussed. She just joined late. So Sunita, this is the book that we are discussing. Gurgaon to Gurugram. It's the story of the city of Gurgaon. Satpendu P. Biswas has written it, who is with us today. Getting on to the idea of, how the city came up and the whole process of the city coming together and what it became today. There's this very interesting quote in the book, which is definitely something which I have marked, and it's something that is going to stay with me for a long time. It says, Gurgaon is like a small kid who has grown on its own without being put into a regular school. Now, this is a very interesting line, and sir, I would want you to elaborate on it a bit.
I was talking to quite a few people. I was teaching in Gurgaon for quite some time in architecture school for almost 11 years, and also did quite a few studios. When you were a student in housing, one of those studios was one of the very interesting studio and very detailed one of study of Gurgaon, the urban form of Gurgaon. That was the study I remember, and that your batch had done that time. I think it is 2005, 6, perhaps. And many people have referred that your study, your batch study. Even the first studio I did, Mehroli Gurgaon Road from Sikandarpur to IFCO Chowk, there's an urban design proposal. In 2000, we started with that proposal. For 11 years, then we did many work on Gurgaon. So, and also in between, we called people from Resident Welfare Association and other people from Gurgaon and start having a discussion on the city at Sushant School in 2007-8, around that time. So these activities are going on about Gurgaon. Many of my friends or colleagues told me to write on Gurgaon. Vishal Agarwal was one of them, whose quotation you told right now. So when I was discussing, because we have taught with Vishal, and so you know him also very well. And,
Our housing
many of
semester.
his
Yeah.
many of his mannerisms and phrases are quite known to the students, and and also his reactions in the design studios are quite interesting. I would leave it there. So Vishal said that he has this habit of making these dramatic statements, and this is one of the statements in which I thought was quite useful. The point what he was trying to say is that we have an example, the big brother, that is Delhi. Delhi is like an example of a planning, how the planning institution works, like a DDA, and how the planning document happened, and everything up to the plot. There's a master plan which was made, we tried to dictate what is going to happen, what kind of building will happen, what kind of building use will happen, right up to the plot level. They try to plan it. The final outcome of that, how the city has grown. Sometimes the city has not grown the way the planners intended it to grow, but there was a planning document in place. So that means there is a discipline, there is a regime under which the city has grown over a period of time. Gurgaon never had something like that. So that's why Vishal was talking about that it did not have any kind of city building conventional disciplines based on which Gurgaon had happened. In spite of having an example like Delhi or another example like Chandigarh, which was like two important post-independent cities in India. When I'm talking about Delhi, I'm talking about the near part of Delhi, which happened after the master plan. So that is the reason why this comment came in. The city has grown on its own to some extent. The major important driver of the city is the economics of the city, the real estate value of the city. In this context, one must find out. I mean, this is one of the most unique case in Gurgaon, that if you look at the larger perspective of Gurgaon, as you have already talked about, that how the settlement came in and all. See, during the Green Revolution time, I mean, if I go back a little, in 60s, and during Green Revolution, there are a lot of canals were made, irrigation system were established, in Punjab and also part of Haryana. Whereas the Gurgaon never had that kind of irrigation system, and the land was not fertile, not so much of irrigation. It had a very large land holding. So, in other sense, why this land holding is important? Because if one needs to acquire land, then you need to actually deal with less number of landowners if the land holding is big. Agriculturally, it was in a weak situation. Gurgaon somehow turned around agricultural weakness into an urban strength. And by being within this Delhi NCR system, and there are certain gray areas of the laws and rules, Gurgaon has explored it to a great extent and turned the negative into its positive, in the sense it completely forgot about its agricultural mooding, and then it went into complete urbanization. So it's a story in which the weakness was turned into some kind of strength. And that's how the Gurgaon urbanization got triggered. The major thing was the real estate value.
I remember while we used to work in the studio and we were gathering all the data and everything, when we used to come back with the plans and the land sizes and what DLF phase 1 looks like, what DLF phase 2 and what DLF phase 3 looks like, and what Sushant looks like. The whole map used to look like a jigsaw puzzle, because we used to color that differently also according to the land use and the color coding as well. And it simply used to look like a jigsaw puzzle. And that's how things used to be. Interesting that we're talking about the comparison between Delhi and Gurgaon, and we mentioned Noida as well. So Delhi is this one big city around which Gurgaon has grown. And if I think of another situation where a big city and smaller cities have cropped up around them, me being from Punjab, the first example that comes to my mind is Chandigarh. Now, why I find this so strikingly different is that when I look at Chandigarh, Mohali completely tries to imitate, what Chandigarh is, and so does Panchkula. And not just in terms of the city planning and everything, people living there also want to imitate the lifestyle and everything from that city. But this has not happened this has not happened in case of Delhi and Gurgaon. So my question is, why do you think that it's happened like this?
Chandigarh and Delhi coming around is like two iconic cities in post-independence time. One I always referred it. One was made by the master plan and the planners. The other one was planned by a master. So there's a two different thing completely. And the Delhi master plan system has been followed in most of the other cities, and not so much about Chandigarh, because Chandigarh's success or Chandigarh's genius loci of Chandigarh, the way the city has been made, is because of the flamboyant design of planning of Corbusier, and it has its critique also by many people. It has also its strength. City, the people who stay in Chandigarh, they like that city. There are a lot of people from outside Chandigarh critique about it. But Chandigarh has a tremendous influence. The way the architecture and the way of city life in that part of our country, and most of the trained planners, the first generation people, they worked either with Corbusier or maybe their followers and things like that. So that tradition has gone into this whole Chandigarh, Mohali, Panchkula kind of urban planning and development. So that is one thing. Gurgaon never wanted to become like Delhi. I remember initially when in the 90s, also I mentioned about this, the people used to say that they stayed in DLF. They never said that they stayed in Gurgaon. So there is a Gurgaon, there is DLF, and there's a private colonies, there is Delhi. So like that. So they said that, initial time, they used to stay in Gurgaon, but they used to do their shopping, all this, the grocery store from Delhi, all those things, they were like, so they are totally related to Delhi initially. Even the colonies and then some of the housings, they are like looking at Delhi as inspiration. Slowly they got detached, especially in the mid 90s and early 90s. They got slowly they got detached, and it became its own identity, which never wanted to become like Delhi, because its beginning was not like Delhi. It was not a planned city. It is not a planned city. In fact, the planning documents starts chasing the development of Gurgaon. It's on the way around. In most of the city, you plan it and then you make development. Here, you develop it and then plan the master plan, or the document starts documenting the development. It's completely different way the city was built, and that makes it very fascinating to some extent. It has its lot of problems, but the city building exercise is what is like is completely outside the government or state, or to that extent is more like a privately driven city. So that is something which I find is very, very unique in Gurgaon.
Okay. Sir, there's this one question which I find is appropriate to discuss right now. Due to pandemic, lots of offices are now work from home. Does that change the infrastructure situation in Gurgaon now? So, sir, how would you address this?
This IT sector, this whole system of Gurgaon is like offshore kind of development, BPOs and KPOs and all, because it's always talking about the placelessness, because you are not really rooted in the place, right in a place where you operate to some extent. So, this situation of pandemic also somehow talks about that kind of a scenario in which you don't go to the office, but you are operating from your home. It's affecting your urban life everywhere, whether it is it's not specific to a place like Gurgaon. It's affecting anywhere. It is in Mumbai or in Calcutta or in Delhi, anywhere. It's happening. Whether the infrastructure needs to be revisited or needs to be augmented or things like that. That requires much more research, and because the sufficient research has not been done as yet, because of pandemic, what should be the public space configuration, what should be the city planning, what will be the movement system, how the city will operate its finance and economics, so, and also the supply chain. So there are many implications will have, and one needs to be a little more careful in observing and commenting on this at this point of time.
And I think
But
this
is
is
a very valid concern.
Yeah, and I think this is not something that's limited to Gurgaon. I think this is happening the world over, like in every city, not just one. So I think,
Yes,
and I'm sure a lot of people must be researching it on already. So that
it's a very generic kind of a concern. It's a generic concern,
Yeah.
which urban environment across the world is facing this, and trying
True.
to question that what is the solution, or what are the directions in terms of
True.
infrastructure and other things.
So Nita is saying that was Gurgaon ever really planned? It doesn't look like it seemed to have grown organically like an amoeba. So Nita, we just discussed this. Yes, it was never planned, and it did come up quite organically. It's a study in itself. I would suggest you pick up the book. It will give you all the details that you're curious about. Even during the study that we did in college, we kind of saw that there was no ecological concern anywhere. That was happening as the development was taking place, and this is something which used to trouble me back then, and it still troubles me a lot, because it's beyond me to understand that how come people who have been trained and who are qualified to handle things like planning and all that, how do they miss out on this? Because the first thing that we were told in the studio was understand the topography, understand the landform, see what is happening. You cannot go against it. That phenomenal book, Design with Nature, was something that you used to shove into our hands at Padho Isko Padho, and that one chapter is something which I still have the photocopies of with me. So how come Gurgaon, when it started developing, how come they completely disregarded the whole ecological factor? Because I remember that Genpact building that you remember. So you used to drop us there at times when we used to come back from college. And that road that used to go to Sushant Lok Phase 2. We were coming to college once in the bus, and the bus just stopped in the middle of the road. and it was monsoon season, so the driver just told us आगे सड़क नहीं है, तो अब कहीं और से जाना पड़ेगा. And we were like, what is he talking about? क्या सड़क नहीं है? So I just got off the bus and I saw the whole road had been washed out, 12 feet deep and at least 15 feet wide. And it was right out of a disaster film, the way we see in the cinemas, you know. It was that bad. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So smartphones वगैरह होते नहीं थे, otherwise I would have clicked pictures and gone live and shown ये देखो क्या हो रहा है. Different era altogether. I think it must have been 2002 or 3 back then. And how did this happen?
The planning had a role to play, which it did not in Gurgaon, especially the ecological part. I think the biggest sufferer of the Gurgaon kind of development, bits and pieces kind of development, is the ecology of a place, the landscape, the ecology, and everything related to it, whether it is the movement of water, whether it is a network of canals, whether it is topography, that undulations were flattened. So all those, anything related to landscape and ecology had suffered in Gurgaon kind of development. It's not that it has not suffered in any other places, but in Gurgaon it was rampant because there's nothing, no document which could really guide them or restrict them or give them a kind of directions. So that was missing. So everybody just looked at their estate, their piece of enclaves, maximize the financial returns and real estate value, as well as give a quality of life that the developers are talking about. So, and you have very rightly pointed out, Design with Nature, Ian McHugh's, it's like 50 years have crossed. I mean, the book is like 50-year-old, 2019. It was 50 years of Ian McHugh's book, and it was one of the fascinating book of how ecology can be taken into considerations while planning even a highway, because McHugh in his book actually displayed, along with his students in UPenn, that how a highway can be planned, and it can be ecologically, socially, culturally planned. And highway is not a straight line connecting 2 points. It's not about only about speed or only about reducing distance. It can consider ecology as well. So that is a very good example. Now, if you look at Gurgaon, every year there is rain, and Gurgaon has this urban flooding. And urban flooding is a major issue everywhere. Not only in Gurgaon, it's everywhere. It is symptomatic to the kind of urban development which is happening everywhere. This year I heard that Jaipur also had urban flooding, and which is completely disastrous because these areas like Gurgaon, Jaipur, and this northern belt has a very little rainwater as compared to something like Kochi or Mumbai or Calcutta, for example. So the rainfall is very less. But why it is happening in a place like this? That one side is the ridge that creates the boundary for Gurgaon, and then from the ridge this water channels comes down. So comes down to the other part of Gurgaon, and then it goes to a larger channel in Wazirabad Canal, and then from the canal then it goes to Najafgarh Drain, and then Najafgarh Drain then goes back and meets Yamuna. So this whole water network system got completely ruptured and disrupted by this kind of development which has happened. The roads in the middle of canals of stormwater drainage, it got filled up, the buildings were made, the roads were made. So then it got stagnated, the water got stagnated. Sikandarpur drain is one of them. Freshwater, stormwater or rainwater canals, it became swear water, grey water nalas. So that was the situation that has happened in Gurgaon. And we happened to do one project from our office on a 5.2 kilometer on a canal edge, which with local citizens and the Department Forest, we tried to revive that place in the public, as public space, and it became quite a good response to some extent. So these are some of the projects and interventions one can actually think of to reclaim these spaces, reclaim these water networks, reclaim these ecological assets, and bring it back to the mainstream city living.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the other ideas of the image and the character of the city, which are my personal favorite topics whenever it comes to the urban discussions. Sir, I believe that a place starts developing a character when people belong to that place. Now, when I used to stay in Gurgaon in the early 2000s, people did not belong to Gurgaon. I think when I was in Gurgaon, the city really didn't have much of a character, but now I see that there is one generation that is actually residing in Gurgaon. So do you think now that has made any difference? And now is there any character of the city that's coming up?
Once you cross the border from Delhi to Gurgaon, you can figure out that there is a change. Is the buildings are the architecture of it, the material, as you said, glass and steel, and which was more like a representation of progress and the technology to some extent, and architects used it rampantly, sometimes uncritically also to some extent, because somebody else is using, so they are also using. So uh, in doing so, it created a kind of language in Gurgaon, which we see and we get associate. We associate the city with. So that is one point of the image part of it, because people, the developers went to, some of the developers, small and big, they went abroad. They saw something interesting. They came and told the architect, look, I want to make it like this. I saw it in Singapore or Dubai or somewhere else. And the architects also sometimes they take their study trip kind of thing, and they go abroad and pick up some photographs and all. They visit the places and start emulating that and make one version of that in India. So Gurgaon was the place for all these experiments, architectural experiments. So it had a different kind of architecture, not necessarily what we have seen earlier. Sometimes for common people, for a lot of people, in fact, it was a refreshing change. Some people were very, very critical about it. And one of the major criticism of such kind of architecture was the way it dealt with energy to some extent, because of the glass in initial period of glass, and also on Western facades many times because of only the image building exercise. These materials were used at one point of time, not very judiciously everywhere. But glass has its own charm also to some extent. It reduces the barrier between inside and outside and things like that. It has been used in modern architecture for quite some time across the world. So it picked up late in India, and Gurgaon was one of the places where it was picked up. But another point which you have highlighted was that there is a new group of citizens, and I see that happening now more than ever. The resident welfare groups, their citizen groups, the pressure groups, and they are concerned about their city. Now, people that they are now citizens of Gurgaon. They are not like somebody who fall back on Delhi for everything. So they need to stay here. Their children studied here, and they are like the first generation of corporate citizens of Gurgaon, and their children are staying here, and therefore they start working towards the city, the things which were missed out initially, the missing links, the gaps they're trying to fill up, and because they're of similar age and also similar socio-economic background, they try to gel together better than anybody else. So that is something which I see it in Gurgaon these days.
Interesting, because back when we were in college, even if we had to watch a film, we would need to go to Delhi, and and we did at times used to bunk college and studios. This was in first year. So we never missed your studios. Okay, so there's a very interesting quote in the book which says that Gurgaon is the city of black and white, and there are no gray areas in the city. Very interesting, and I would want you to elaborate on that.
If you look at the traditional city, I'll give you an example of a place like Jaipur, and I find a very, very fascinating city. The walled city of Jaipur is extremely extremely rich in its urban fabric, its activity, the vitality on the streets, and also the look of it. And if I don't go by or if I am not overwhelmed by the pink color and pink fetish of many people in Jaipur, if I go beyond that, what you will see, I mean, this is not only in Jaipur, I see it in Calcutta, it is also there in traditional areas in Delhi, or it is also there in Mumbai, in many places. But Jaipur came to my mind because somehow it represents a quintessential Indian city to some extent to me, and we can have discussions on that later. So, what happens is from your house in a traditional setup, from your house, you come out on the veranda. You will see there are a lot of people sitting, chit-chatting. There are various social groups having a conversation. You come out of a small lane. You know everybody, so you do hi and hello, and then get out of that place. Then you go to a larger area where you know less number of people, and then you go to the city level street. So that is how it happens. And every katra in old part of Delhi, or every para or neighborhood in Calcutta, the places in Jaipur, all these have this kind of the gradations of publicness and to the privateness. So there is a city, there are intermediate spaces, layered intermediate spaces, and then there is your private residence. Within that private residence also, there will be an outside space, there will be corridor verandas, and there will be inside courtyard. So there is also gradations of publicness within the building, as well as there is a gradation of light and shadow within the building. So this whole thing from a house to the city, this interface, traditionally had a lot of layers in it, and I considered it is a between, if one is a black, if the private space is black and the public space, city space is white. Not saying that the black and white is means just to have contrast between two areas, two realms, because of its publicness. One is a private area, one is a public area, but within that exists a number of graded spaces of publicness. And that is what I talk about as a gray space. In places like Gurgaon, it's totally missing. You have your enclave, you go out to your house, your enclave, where you sometimes know, many times you don't know, and just after that you have the city. So between the enclave to the city, there is no transition. So an inside and outside space is very, very abrupt, and that's what I said, that there is a gray space missing in that. And because of that, there are a lot of problems, in the sense that this kind of gray spaces within the city, gray spaces in the sense the layered spaces within the city, gives a lot of activities to happen, which is missing. And because of that, there are other issues of surveillance, natural proprietor of streets, how people look at the street, the safety and security, all those things, public transport, everything actually are connected with this kind of layered nature of public spaces in a city, which is missing in Gurgaon, totally.
One thing that I want to talk about is the social setup and the kind of contradictions that the social setup of the city, holds. So I would like you to brief us about that a bit, because there's a whole chapter in the book which is very detailed, and it makes some very interesting points. But briefly, if you can just explain what we are saying.
The existing group of people who are like farmers who had a lot of land, and they sold the land, overnight they became rich and all that. And I also talk about one incident of a driver coming in an Esteem, and then parking the Esteem and driving the Santro of one of my colleagues. I thought that is a very interesting story because it talks about that they've sold the land, they have bought the car, they want to access a lot of clubs and the public spaces and malls and things like that, where they have some problems. So because though they have money, but they don't have the social status so easily. So that is the clash and the contradictions which happens in Gurgaon every now and then, and that is what I try to talk about. So one set of people who were already there initially, their generation got changed because the earlier generation was farmers. Then they became real estate people because they have got land and all that. They sold the land and start doing the real estate business, small little business. And there is a set of huge influx of corporate people, educated elite, and that creates an uncomfortable kind of a situation. It's not like other cities where people have a lot of money and people have very little money. So it's like either or situation. In Gurgaon, it's not like that. People have money, but this social recognition and that is the tussle, which is very, very subtle, and sometimes it can be very ruthless also.
Somehow I believe that a city is actually born when some certain kind of food or cuisine is available only there and nowhere else. If I go to Delhi, I have loads of such things. If I go to Calcutta, I have loads of such things. If I go to Amritsar, I have loads of such stuff, and Chandigarh and everywhere as well. Gurgaon ने अभी तक वो चीज नहीं हासिल की है, and I wonder when that will be. But it's very interesting that these whole layering that you're talking about, the contradictions of social setup. Okay, so now I'm going to shift and ask you some fun questions and some stupid questions. So please don't kill me for that. Okay, before I get into that, I hope some architecture students are listening to this as well. And if you're there, guys, all those texts and books which I have always shoved into your hands, most of them come from my teacher here. So if you have read Genius Loci, this is the guy who made me read it. And the first time when I read it, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा ये क्या लिखा हुआ है, how is it even connected to architecture? And then if I talk about the image of the city and all those books which I keep yelling about and keep shoving into your hands, he's the man from whom all of that has come. Sir, any 5 books which you think are essential for architecture students?
The books which I thought were relevant in some chapters of that. Sometimes it's very difficult to read the whole book by the students and others also, but one needs to get a habit of reading books, and Genius Loci or Genius Loci, whatever you are calling, by Norbert Schulz was one of the fascinating books which talks about the experience of a place and how one can actually narrate the experience of a place. And he looks at various settlements and cities across the world and tries to explain that. So that is one book, especially the first chapter of that book will be very good. Then Collage City, because if we are talking about Gurgaon, the collage is a very important aspect of how the cities can be read together. Collage City by Colin Rowe and Fred Poeter is very, very good, and especially people who are interested in modern architecture. There's a chapter called Crisis of Object, which is a very, very interesting chapter. Another book which I liked was, I thought it was a very robust kind of a statement. The first line of the book, and this is not an easy book. The book was by Robert Venturi, and its book is Complexity and Contradictions in Architecture. So he talks about, because when we studied, our professors were more like, got completely ingrained with these modern architecture ideas. So they talked about less is more, and Venturi started talking about less is a bore. And Gurgaon really depicts. Sometimes one of my colleague and I used to come back while driving in some of the malls. We could see, and we were always talking about Robert Venturi. So another book which is good came up around 1960s is The Architecture of the City by Aldo Rossi. It is an Italian reading of city, talks about some history and history of the city in a very interesting manner. The fifth one, I would say, The Design with Nature, which is not an architectural book, but it is a book which everybody should read, especially the chapter called Flight, that how development takes away the kind of natural habitat we have. That's very important. I will just add one more, because that is the sixth one, which is a very recent one, and I find it's one of the most appropriate book for reading cities like Gurgaon, like post-informational cities. It's done by a professor in Columbia University called David Graham Shen, and his book is titled as Recombinant Urbanism. It's one of the most detailed book of contemporary time, because it talks about most of the ideas which have been there. And so those ideas were included, and he gave an example and gave an explanation how these cities, these post-informational cities have emerged. So I think these books will give a mix of architecture as well as urban design and city city reading kind of ideas.
My favorite chapter from Design with Nature is The Naturalists. When I read it for the
Yeah.
first time, it really blew my mind. That's my favorite chapter from. Okay, sir, which is your favorite city in India, and which is your favorite city, one favorite city from the rest of the world?
Paris will be one of these things. Indian cities actually is very difficult for me to say one particular city because I like bits and parts of the city. I like Maidan in Calcutta and Park Streets in Calcutta. There are many places. I like places in Mumbai, whether it is a Shivaji Park or whether it is a Juhu area or whether it is the Marine Drive. I like that area. I like the Jawri Bazaar of Jaipur or the Chowra Rasta of Jaipur, where you can have lassi on the street and also have tea on the street, and the tea vendor will have the chief minister's photograph displayed in his tea stall. Very, very fascinating. Old Delhi, Lutyens Delhi, Central Vista, all that. There are a lot of bits and pieces of many cities which I like in India. Chandigarh, some parts of Chandigarh definitely I like. So to have one city, everything you don't like about one city. So that is, maybe I've seen these cities more closely, so I have that kind of reservation.
So when I just finished college and just towards the beginning of my career, I had to go to Mumbai quite frequently. The first thing that I noticed, the difference between Delhi, Gurgaon, and Mumbai was to have fun. In Delhi or Gurgaon, you needed to have a lot of money because if you're planning to go out, you need to have your pockets filled with money, and only then you'll be able to have a good time. But Mumbai did not have that thing. Mumbai, you can just go out and sit and have fun with your friends, and without any money, you can just come back. This is one discussion which I would want to get into, but I think today we are running slightly short of time. So you mentioned Kingdom of Dreams in your book, and you do talk about Zangura and Jhumru both. Which play do you like better?
I mean, both are like similar kind of a thing. It has this complete glitz and out of the world kind of unreal thing. It's almost like, Manmohan Desai's movie. Today I was watching one interview of Amitabh Bachchan. He was talking about Amar Akbar Anthony. And that's the movie those are the movies we have seen when we are students and all. And any unrealistic things happening in 80s movies, late 70s or early 80s movies, and I find those similar kind of things in this to drama or in Kingdom of Dreams. So
Sir, एक pick करना पड़ेगा, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा.
I mean, you can pick up whatever you want. I mean, either Zangura is also
I've seen Jhumru, so
Jhumru is also good.
I'll pick up Jhumru. I love the songs. Okay, what next? Like, what book is lined up, and what next can we expect from you?
I am planning to write a book with Jaipur as canvas and the backdrop. Though I have not yet decided it will be a fiction or a non-fiction. Whatever it is, that will be a book I am going to write next, which will have Jaipur as the setting.
And we will be waiting for that. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up some of the questions that some of the viewers have asked. Sunita, I think there was one question which I had reserved, and now I'm asking that. Sunita was asking, any mythology discussed in the book about Gurgaon?
No, I didn't discuss any mythology as such because the mythology is an inspiration of Gurugram, as everybody knows about it, and that's how it is. So I feel that Gurgaon has a very little bearing on history, and to give a name of such a city and try to relate to a mythology is something which is a little far-fetched, and I did not find any relevance in discussing that in the book. People call themselves that they stay in Beverly Hills, or they stay in Malibu Tower, or they stay in some other kind of some Spanish name or something. So this city is like that.
You've also mentioned in the book that the change in the name and the use of the title Gurgaon to Gurugram is essentially commenting upon the growth of a place which was not there to a place that has become, and as opposed to a comment on the changing of the name. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so
that's right. That's right.
Sunita again is asking, are there any other cities in India which are like Gurgaon?
yet to come across. Architecture-wise, there are a lot of cities which started looking like Gurgaon these days. But the whole, the speciality or the uniqueness of Gurgaon, the way the city, the transition happened, where the land became a real estate entity. So that is missing in other areas. So I don't have exact example where all the steps of the city, all the layers of the city of Gurgaon can be present anywhere else as such. So I'm yet to find that.
Devalina says, Gurgaon, does Gurgaon has the carrying capacity of the ongoing expansion with regard to water and electricity? So she is curious to know.
No,
No.
no, it doesn't have. It doesn't have. And that is like a straight away answer because if you go to Gurgaon, you will see the generators running. You have the bore wells which go into the ground to extract water. There's an alarming rate by which the water levels is dropping in Gurgaon in last 20 years. It's very, very alarming. So in that sense, it is not. It does not have carrying capacity at all. So that's a very, very serious thing about Gurgaon. So one is the ecological aspect. The second thing is urban flooding, stormwater drainage. Third thing will be public transport. Fourth thing will be the water. Fifth will be electricity. These five things, if you just jot it down as things which are really missing in this city, are these five.
This does bring this idea to my mind that what if things develop differently and what if we had taken a different road for development, but a discussion for another time probably because we are out of time now. You can type your questions later when this thing goes on the IGTV on Kitab Khana's account. So guys, the book is available with Kitab Khana. So please place your orders and we'll send them across. And stay safe. The cases are rising again. Be very careful. This is not something to be taken lightly. And stay healthy. And as I always say, keep reading. Cheers. Okay, sir, thank you so much. It was such a wonderful conversation. And this is a very interesting book and I really enjoyed reading it.
Thank you very much. And I really enjoyed this conversation as well. And I also expect everybody to be very safe.
It was wonderful having all of you and addressing all your questions. Sunita, thank you so much for your questions. See you sometime soon again. All right, everyone.